All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for those that have joined us live this afternoon for our September Central Maine Tech Night. So wonderful to have everybody. Likewise, thank you for those that are joining us at a later date and enjoying our growing content library around tech and innovation. It is so wonderful to see and be with everybody this afternoon. It is for those of you that have not attended in the past, Central Maine Tech Night is a monthly evening, albeit this afternoon we're having our event where in our small group setting, founders and leaders share real advice on how they overcame challenges, capitalized on their target market, and developed their product, providing you with actionable insight for your own products and processes. You may find us on Facebook or online at centralmaine.org at the Tech Night tab. I'd like to thank our sponsors for this evening. This free event is presented by Central Maine Growth Council and is sponsored by CGI, Thomas College's Harold Alfond Institute for Business Innovation, Valley Beverage, and Bricks Co-working and Innovation Space at 10 Water Street in downtown Waterville, Maine at the Hathaway Creative Center. That is our typical home that we do typically hold these events. Again, in addition, I'd like to thank the folks that are watching at home at a later date. We have a really awesome September Network Tech Talk for folks. September's Tech Talk is MaineNerve, a wind tunnel for ideas connecting Central Maine area thinkers, by Paul Gurney, Jr., who is the CEO and co-founder of MaineNerve, LLC. Central Maine needs to capture the most innovative, ingenious minds in Maine, and Paul will share his perspective on connecting thinkers to explore ideas and challenges for our area. MaineNerve is a forum which utilizes a tournament format to encourage fun, competition, and quality of thinking through mutual feedback loops, and it serves as a place for creative people and projects to get funded as the state's very first crowd-sourced think tank. So thank you so much, Paul, for joining.
Thank you, Garvin.
I would also like to say thank you to CGI. What you should also see on your screen is, and want to point to, CGI is holding a free boot camp that is coming up here. Please contact us or the contact address on your screen. If folks are not familiar with Salesforce, just really quickly, Salesforce is really one of the hottest and most marketable certifications in the country right now, if not the world. And you will have a chance to be hired by one of the largest IT and business consulting services firms in the world. CGI is partnering with Thomas College to conduct a free Salesforce bootcamp. Selected candidates will go through a rigorous 12-week training program, and upon successful completion will earn their Salesforce certification. So please reach out to us or our friends and colleagues at either CGI or Thomas College, and specifically at the email listed on your screen. Without further ado, Paul, I'm going to share my screen with you, and we're going to jump into this here momentarily.
All right.
Today, we'll be using a little bit of a fireside chat style, and our general overview is we will hear from Paul. We'll get a little bit of his origin story. And at the end, we'll get a little overview and spin around his website, which I know I'm certainly looking forward to.
All right. Great.
How are you doing?
Well, thank you for the intro, Garvin, and hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. I see we've got several people here. So nice to meet you all. So my name's Paul, and I'm happy to be here and explain what we're doing, what this is all about. Garvin and I were talking about, since it's a small group currently right now live, maybe we could have each of you just say your name and what you do, so we can kind of understand our audience here. So Cindy, we'll start with you if you don't mind. and feel free to decline if you'd like.
Sure. My name is Cindy Stevens, and I'm the program director for the Mid-Maine Chamber of Commerce, working on events and sponsorships and helping our businesses in the area.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for joining us. All right, I see Isaac next in at least my line here. Hi, Isaac.
Hi, I'm Isaac Salisbury. I work at Thomas College. I'm the Harold Alfond Institute of Business Innovation Program Coordinator. I'm here in Waterville, and I'm happy to join you guys today.
All right, thank you, Isaac. And next, Samantha, hello.
Hi, so I'm Samantha Burdick. I chair the KB Connect group for the Chamber, which is a young professionals group, and I work, I do marketing for a car dealership called Height Ford.
Oh, wonderful. Well, great, thank you. And last but not least, Scott, hi there.
Hey, Paul. Yeah, I'm Scott Wilkinson. I'm a regional representative in Senator Angus King's office. The territory of the state I cover is Kennebec, Lincoln, and Saginaw counties. So you can think of me sort of as his lead staff person in this region of the state. Happy to be here and sort of here just to listen and learn.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us. This is great. So Garvin, how do you want me to start?
Yeah, so to that end, and thank you for those introductions all. Paul, can you start off by giving us maybe just your kind of origin story, if you will?
Okay.
What brought you to where you are today, kind of your life, those forks in the road, and just a little bit of background, maybe MaineNerve.
All right, that sounds good. So I was born in Massachusetts, went to school in Atlanta, and I thought I wanted to be an architect. Well, while I was there at Georgia Tech, I saw the internet kind of being born, so I just dated myself, right? I was using this Mosaic 1.0 going, what is this? Is this going anywhere? Which eventually became Netscape, right? So I realized though that kind of the way I was interested, in creative, audio, visual design. I was so lucky that by starting to kind of use the internet and learn about it, I kind of became what we'd call a web architect, right? So managing a lot of details, creating the experience behind something, but not necessarily doing all the engineering. Well, I came to Maine in 1996 and moved to Mount Vernon, Maine. So kind of, in your neck of the woods there. I used to go to Oakland and go to Tukey Lumber, and I was building a house in the woods as this sort of former architect wannabe. So I built a house in the woods near Flying Pond, Vienna, Maine, and worked from home. Actually, I was kind of always a remote worker. I guess at that young age, I realized that I wasn't fit for being in an office nonstop, 9 to 5. I was always on, always thinking and kind of working on projects of my own, whether building the house or this new website design business I was running. So I had a lot of great clients sort of working with websites, and I hit upon a business model that was really fortuitous. I had ad agencies as clients, and then they brought me all of their customers to work with. So right from that 1996, I started working on web projects, so building websites, and then gradually there was a clear need. The IT departments at big companies like Unum and Fairchild and National Semiconductor were always extremely busy building networks, doing security, rolling out the massive systems. And the employees were stuck with, needs that they had to get their work done. So I started kind of doing and building little productivity apps, is what I called it, on the intranets at those companies. So over the next years, I began building projects, web app, CMSs, if you know that phrase, content management systems, and that turned out to be, it was a lot of work, and it was great. I was a solopreneur, right? I partnered with programmers right from the beginning, a couple really great people out of Farmington, and then from soon around the country, right? As those freelance websites took off. So I was always there. I was always had a team and always had partners that made me successful, so to speak. You couldn't do it alone. I needed the other half of the brain, right? Nowadays, we might call it the front end or the back end. So I had a lot of exposure to big companies and saw their pain points. And again, I'd say right time, right place. I was approached by a nice, big public company that needed a solution, and it became really the most important product I'd ever built up to that point. So I realized I have something big on my hands. I need to, go to a boot camp for, I didn't have an MBA, and I was always a do-it-yourself kind of solopreneur. So I went to Top Gun. Thank goodness I had heard about it. I don't remember how, but Top Gun in 2015 was really important for me. And I would definitely recommend to any, aspiring entrepreneur that you do Top Gun. It connected me with wonderful advisors, all professionals of various kinds, retired or not, in the state of Maine. In my area was the Portland area at the time. So it was absolutely amazing, and I learned a ton. And I think that because I was already self-employed, I was able to carve out the free time. I realized some other entrepreneurs may not have the time at their full-time job to go do the time commitment. So I realized you need to have sort of the right circumstances to do it, but it was absolutely worth it. And the practicing the 1 minute, 3 minute, 5 minute pitches, and the pressure and presenting and honing and shaping concepts was really valuable, all with a little bit of pressure, right? But then, so during those years, I worked for this really brilliant guy, psychiatrist, who had this concept that I kind of got, kind of didn't. I was the designer on and off, and I guess I had to go through my own, start up with my own major software product to realize that I kind of needed a bigger dream. What I was doing with this major product was in a very crowded tech space. If you all know the marketing tech stack, there's like possibly 1,000 or more services and technologies that fit in the realm of MarTech. And I kind of realized that, wow, this person who's inviting me to join them as a co-founder has a really big vision that is much bigger than this market. So, let me do both for a while and see which takes off. So that's why I'm a co-founder, because I've I guess you could say, really got and grokked, if you know that word, grok something. I got this vision that my co-founder Cam had, and it's pretty awesome. So as we said in the intro, we're kind of calling ourselves the wind tunnel testing for ideas. But go ahead, back to you, Garvin. That's my little origin story.
That's great, and thank you for that background. Spectacular, and Top Gun has meant so many entrepreneurs that we've had and colleagues we've worked with. So really underscore that, and it must be interesting to have watched the entrepreneurial landscape change as it continues to today, and how important Top Gun has been to all of us.
Right.
Paul, what can you kind of compare and contrast what the early idea for MaineNerve was versus what it is today?
Okay.
And how was that iterative?
Yeah, that's a great question. As they say, your first idea, when it meets the ground, it may not survive contact or first contact with your customers, right, or your target audience. So we've been through 3 versions. So I guess maybe to help clarify, so the concept, here's our tagline. What would you do with 1 million minds in your pocket, right? What kind of questions would you ask them? So our vision is this new idea grid for the world. We have the search grid, right? The search engine, Google, Bing, DuckDuckGo, they can connect you with information. Then you've got social networks like Facebook and Instagram that create the social graph, as they say. So you can connect with people. But we don't have yet this imagination grid that you could plug in as a business or organization or foundation, or even on a personal level, to kind of generate possibilities, creative options for your business or life. So we're trying to create a brand new market called this kind of idea market. And it's been, there's been a lot of research over time about the wisdom of the crowds, right? By show of hands, you know, we've all heard of that phrase, right? The wisdom of the crowds. So yeah, so there's some caveats to that. There have been several books written about the topic and research papers out of Yale and in other forums that it's not just as easy as that, right? It's definitely true. Diversity of opinions matters. And some early research thought, oh, great, a diverse set of opinions is better than a few experts. Well, that's sometimes true, but not always. There's a problem with groupthink. So you need to solve that problem of, you know, over time with the law of large numbers, you might get to consensus, which is not ideal in some ways. So we had to figure out and kind of balance all of these factors. So that's why today our third version of this, you know, after internal testing with different audiences like engineers at engineering schools, is that a double blind. So you need to have a double blind system where you don't know whose ideas you're evaluating, right? If you're part of the innovative crowd and you're, so this double blind mechanism prevents groupthink. And then you need to be able to rate the raters, because how trustworthy is someone judging your idea without any kind of signal on them, right? We don't want just opinions, right? Because they're a dime a dozen, right? So if we were to come up with a really useful crowdsourcing engine for ideas, you need to kind of, as we like these kind of cones, you could say, like, vet the vetters, rate the raters, right? You need to have feedback loops that promote, number one, very pro-social behavior, right? Number two, promote sort of the most creative ideas, not just the most obvious or expected ones. So how do you judge creativity given its very nature, right? So these have been kind of I guess you could say, the intellectual challenges behind harnessing this wisdom of the crowd and making it useful and in fact predictive. So that's been really exciting. And you know, my team is made up of much smarter people than me who have developed some really cool algorithms that can help, you know, basically validate the signal that we're generating. So it does require, you know, a larger group of people. So as we're starting to build this new market, we're starting with a small community, and this is letting us test whether our format that we chose, which I realize now I didn't even say this yet, and I'm not counting on anyone having read the intros, right? But that we've settled on an idea game format, so a tournament format to make it fun to tackle challenges and problems, right? You know, thinking and generating ideas can be fun, but if they're going to be structured in a way that's useful to the world, right, to businesses, orgs, foundations, parties, you know, leadership in government, it needs to be structured. And we also need the quality of the thinking to improve constantly. So what better way than through a game format? Gaming is a huge multi-billion dollar industry. It's larger than we think. And to us, it's very fun. The gaming can be fun. It's a dissociative fun. You can pass the time and make friends. So we never discount gaming. However, we believe that there's a huge amount of sort of, you could say, sort of wasted creative bandwidth, that if we could get a new generation of all ages of idea gamers solving challenges for points, for rank, right? For I'm the best at solving aquaculture problems. You know, here's the proof. I've done 200 challenges involving specific issues inside that realm, that sector. So making it fun, making it a tournament that never ends, so that as our players get many at-bats, right, up at bats, we can emerge with this kind of picture, this we could say a score of how well the players are doing at these different challenges. So whether it's marketing challenges, messaging challenges, relationship challenges. So we want all topics under the sun can be covered, because after all, there's no place that doesn't need new, fresh ideas, right?
So with regards to this tournament notion and gamification, Can you expand on the basic premise of how that relates to this wind tunnel testing
Okay.
of ideas?
Yes. We may have several companies, let's say, that have some internal challenges, right? They have a team, maybe 5 to 10 to 100, marketing team, let's say, trying to craft the perfect message. Product people want to test it on their, target audience. So what would be better, inside your 4 walls or across 1,000 clever, creative people in Maine? So that you could take your challenge, frame it in a certain way. We have you explore the topic. So here's your question. Let's say it's, what could be a better mousetrap? Although I never like that example because it's so obvious. So let's just say, what could we do better in X, Y, Z? So we're going to structure that question. Just a simple, who is it for? What's the core problem? And why is this important? So there's a little bit of design thinking involved where you as the catalyst or the person asking the question studies it enough to kind of get at these root assumptions. Then you post your question and the crowd has several roles. So we call it the innovator role, where you have an idea for that. I've got an idea. I know whatever their background was, maybe from their schooling, maybe from their internship or their work or a lifetime of expertise. It could be any of or all. Newbies are welcome, experts are welcome. But at that point, you put your idea in, then the crowd rates the ideas with whatever their perspective is, but they're rating with the point of view of the person asking the question. So your perspective, you need to put yourself in the mind of the business or the marketer asking the question to see if this idea is relevant to them. Not your opinion, right? You're shifting your point of view to this person. Is it feasible? So it's a little bit of design challenge as well. Then we have another role within the community that you can participate in as an idea person or as a rater or an analyst, as we call you. You're going to mentor the other ideas that you saw as you were rating. And again, it's all anonymous, double blind, so it reduces bias and groupthink. So what did you like about this idea and what could be improved? So we ask you to apply some of your insights to other people's ideas, to judge them and shape and mentor them. So that is part of that feedback loop. Then we have the role of insightful. So, I don't really think that was the core cause. That assumption is not quite right in your question. So we have a little mini game involving challenging the assumptions. On top of it, we have another role called like the talent scout. In that scout, your job could be to find that's a problem involving advertising, let's say, or it's a problem involving forensics or relationships. I know just the few people that should join. So you go and recruit those friends or network or those colleagues of yours. So now you have a place you're like in a sense, the talent scout for the community. So with these roles, and there's a couple more, including patrons and directors. With these, we create these structured loops that help, as I said, sort of vet the ideas on behalf of the organization or business that asked it or leader. And then the best ones rise to the top. And then another cool factor is you as the organization can pick your top 3. And what that does is it sends a signal back to the system, to the crowd. Okay, so here's what we rated, all crowd ranked, all right? And here's what the catalyst chose. And maybe they match, maybe they don't. But anyway, that helps give a system back, a signal back to have this external validation. Then we ask, optionally businesses can actually report back whether the idea that won or that they chose had a good impact, right? What was its effectiveness? So that's a little bit of how that works.
Yeah, extremely helpful. And so much of what we're kind of talking about here is at the essence of crowdsourcing. And this has obviously become extremely valuable and even popular within the coming years. But I'm sure when you began, was it so? Was crowdsourcing always at the origin, the root of your innovation here? And maybe for folks that aren't familiar with just the basic premise of crowdsourcing, did it grow into that idea, and what was the kind of the history of this innovation of crowdsourcing.
Oh, okay. Yep. So that was definitely from the very beginning, we were going to build a startup in a community around crowdsourcing. So it is, but the implementation, there have been other companies that have tried to do this in history, and there are actually crowdsourced competitions like with the X Prize. So there are some major even research, and there's a lot of science that gets done through competitions, right? And there are, they can be effective, but picture a team submitting an idea to a competition to win a prize. They may work months on that particular challenge. So that consumes all their time. That is what they are doing. So what we envision is something different, where you need a much higher velocity of ideation. And there's, I guess, there's a lot that I could get into at a different time about why previous incarnations of crowdsourcing didn't really take off. But the proof is right now, we can't name one that's as viable or popular as search engines or social networks, or, we can probably name games more than we could name any other kind of innovation crowdsourcing system, right? So we have our understanding of what actually to do to make this a global phenomenon. And the neat thing about that is that it's hyper local. So for us, there are creative, innovative people right now sitting in Oakland. They're in Vienna, they're in Waterville, they're everywhere throughout Maine in our 1.3 million population, but they don't have a platform, right? They may not also be able to be entrepreneurs. So if we were to just sort of ballpark, let's say 3% of the population becomes entrepreneurs, right? And we know there's a very high failure rate for startups as well. We believe that number is like 25 times greater of clever, imaginative people who are not entrepreneurs yet, or might never will be. So by creating this platform for idea work, right? Fun, serious fun, we call it serious fun. Like chess is, serious work. It's not as simple as certain Candy Crush games, right? So serious fun, this platform can reach them where they are at home in Maine or in rural areas, for example. So by keeping these smart people, if they want to stay where they are, because now they have idea work that they can do with people from around the state or world, this is their platform, this is their home. So I guess I'd have to, one secret I'll give up is that we are optimizing for these people above all else. So above and beyond businesses, orgs. So here's what happens at companies. You might have a very few well-known, clever, creative people, but they're part of maybe this big organization that's resistant to change, that has a lot of money at stake, and they don't want to change. So what happens is these idea people, give a few ideas at the start, and then they're not listened to, and then they get discouraged. So they just clock in and clock out. But what do they do at home after the evening? Well, what if they had a place to go to kind of work on these idea puzzles and get paid for them, right? Through prizes. So I guess that's the difference. And that's why we've taken this wisdom of the crowd to heart and built a better system, a better home for those people.
But what is the what would you say is the best application or advice your company would have for an area business or even entrepreneur looking to grow their operations or their business while working alongside MaineNerve?
Okay. So yeah, that's our vision, is that with a community of very creative people that have had a lot of practice at sharp thinking, right? Analyzing a situation and bringing their best idea game to the challenges that businesses here in Maine pose, that it doesn't matter where your business is, but if you could put out to the crowd, to let's say ideally, 10,000 clever, ingenious people here in Maine, your challenge questions, we're very confident that the results you get will be more diverse, creative, and and possibly divergent than what you could generate in your own four walls. So we have this idea, like, let's say you want to improve a product. Well, most companies use surveys, right? Or focus groups, but there's a lot of flaws with those. And there's no incentives to keep taking surveys, right? Some people may collect a paycheck doing surveys, online. SurveyMonkey's pretty big, but it doesn't, your track record doesn't follow you the more SurveyMonkeys you do. So our system incentivizes players to tackle problems for any business question that's inputted in the system, even if you don't put money on it. Now, ideally, we'd like you to put a portion of your advertising budget on your questions, and they can be recurring questions. Hey, how could we improve our, let's say, bean boots, is a quick, obvious example. And imagine that collecting hundreds of ideas per month on any product question you have or experience service question. So you put that prize funding on your challenge. Meanwhile, it doesn't have to be a lot, but meanwhile, our system is bringing in players, like sort of a crowd of really smart people looking for the next questions to answer as part of their growth journey, right? They're climbing up the charts to be the best mentor, rater, innovator, director, right? So your pressing questions now matter to them because it's part of their experience, their digital resume of innovation. So we've matched incentives better between, so let's say you don't have a budget to put questions. Well, if you're a shop, maybe we'll give you a free pizza, a coupon, there could be a lot of students that will work and ideate on your questions for that free pizza, because not only are they just getting that tangible thing, but they're practicing and getting a nice, good signal of their innovativeness.
Thank you. Maybe switching gears just a little bit, with regards to the, Maine or beyond, putting together capital stacks, what advice would you give area entrepreneurs that are growing startups and are looking to be either are or will be soon raising capital? And
yeah, absolutely.
Can you touch on broad brushes on kind of what your journey was in terms of, and likely still is, of raising capital,
right?
And turning and monetizing this business?
Yeah. All right. Great question. So here in Maine, we are all very fortunate that Maine Technology Institute exists, was chartered and funded. MTI is absolutely invaluable as a funder of first resort, maybe. I myself, I've had, so our startup and my current one as well, I've been fortunate to receive funding from MTI to take the product to the next level in both cases. So I give them a big shout out, as well as Top Gun, right? I knew there'd come a time where I could maybe put a plug in for MTI. They use a framework, right? That is like a model to sort of map your current idea state or project state or company state to these investment readiness levels. And they call it the viral framework. And a venture capital firm, I have it taped up on my wall. It was from Village Cap. I've referenced it a lot these past year. The Village Capital group created this viral pathway. So there's 9 levels that you can rate yourself on where you are. Where's your product, your team, your go-to-market, the size of the market opportunity, and then eventually even your exit plans or your path to monetization. So those nice vertical categories with the ranks that you can place yourself on are really important. It's kind of a reality check, number one. If you're at the back of the napkin stage, right, I'm not sure if the time has passed that back of the napkin sketches can get funded, but what they do is perhaps help you get a team together. And as I always say, for people that generate a lot of ideas all the time, they're always thinking about how to improve the world or products. So you need to be able to convince at least one other person to help you on your dream. And that act of convincing someone else of your vision and that there's a need for this solution of some kind is very important. So I would say to be blunt, if you can't convince one other person, then please don't go to MTI to try to get funding. You'll only be disappointed. And I don't want to speak for them, but that would be my opinion. Instead, try to build your team, right? Then test your idea. So that fits in with what our startup is doing, is providing a platform to test ideas. Now, everyone loves their first idea. It's very difficult to have it iterated and judged by other people or critiqued, but you really probably already know by now, if you're an entrepreneur, that you need a thick skin as you go out testing your ideas and validating them and getting proof, right? Proof is the key. Proof could be the data. It could be, we've all heard from certain books like The Lean Startup is an awesome book. I would recommend every entrepreneur be a reader first and foremost, to fill your head with great models of ways of viewing the world or your problem, right? So the more models you have in your head, the better. The Lean Startup created or sort of popularized this model of build, measure, learn, that loop. You build something small, you measure, did it achieve what you thought it would? And then you learn from that. So those loops that you keep doing, my co-founder loves to say the OODA loops of iteration. So you can raise money from friends, family, and fools, right? The 3 Fs. And, we wish you all the success in the world at that, right? But eventually you'll need more capital probably to scale your product or to find product market fit. So there's kind of a lot of nuances between, are you scaling? Are you finding fit? Are you capital intensive? Is it hardware or software, right? Software might be a little easier more now than ever with services like digital infrastructure, like Amazon services. You could do a lot with a lot less money, and they have a lot of free tiers. But I know it's a big topic, and I can't know, of course, what our listeners, where they are in their journey. But I guess if I could give that little kernel of the nugget of where to start, is to test and vet your idea, get a team. That's hard. That's a challenge too. A lot of entrepreneurs may not kind of work well with others, right? You're so passionate in driving, and you don't suffer fools gladly, right? As the saying goes. So, so we would offer up our system as a possible option, that you can test your ideas and form your teams remotely with other people that get your concept, perhaps. So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yes, spectacular. And likewise with the MTI, really thinking about MTI as a startup, would really concur. And that viral assessment, I think, is really helpful for those startups and entrepreneurs, even if maybe they're not ready to submit a technical grant for grant funding or even a development loan or something of the like. Thank you for highlighting that, Paul. The viral assessment, to really think about where you are in terms of your business's current function and form.
Yeah.
Maybe moving to today and our current economic conditions, and kind of sorry to we're having such a lovely conversation here to bring up, what challenges and opportunities are you seeing right now moving forward within the context of today's economy, both locally, regionally, nationally, globally, and including related to impacts of COVID-19 for MaineNerve?
Right. So, for sure, it's been a very tragic year for startups and established businesses alike. And, there's a lot to say on the topic, but as it applies to our little humble startup, we've always had the vision of keeping people where they live and not having outflight brain drain from Maine to go to Boston or New York or California. We think now is more than ever is the right time to connect smart, clever, imaginative people into a statewide network, a countrywide network of like a think tank, as we call it, where they can work with their computer, their tablet, their laptop from home, as long as you have internet. And I really, thank Angus King or Senator Angus King for his work championing rural broadband and in improving the situation in Maine. That's been one of my passions forever. But you don't really need high-speed internet to generate great ideas and participate in our system. Eventually, we will need it when we have prototyping and you're forming perhaps a startup using our platform when it's fully realized. But yeah, if you're right now, our community of 60 players, we've met and learned from them. We've brought them in from UMaine and other universities around Maine. They can be where they are. You know, I love that. They check in on our Zoom weekly calls, and you know, the internet's terrible, the Wi-Fi, someone's glitching in and out. It's kind of like, but when they can get on the system and start contributing their amazing insights and creative ideas, you know, that to us really makes us optimistic, you know, for the future. So maybe we're creating the future of idea work. Maybe you know, hopefully it will succeed. But we love that we can create this think tank for Maine. They can do work here in Maine from challenges created in Boston, in New York, or LA. It doesn't matter where, all over the world eventually. So we like that, you know.
So lastly, maybe before we take a spin around MaineNerve, what is maybe the next big thing on the horizon for you and your team, or any big goal in the future here?
Well, I guess our aspiration is that our community multiplies, you know, tenfold in the coming months. We're funding all of the prizes, the tournaments now for out of pocket, and we've got a new project with MTI coming where a nice, good cohort of startups can test their questions, test their ideas with our community. So we're excited about that. And if we show traction, we will be raising equity capital to help us take it to the next level, which is basically scale, right? There's you know, if you want to be first in a market, you'll take some arrows in the back, but you know, we certainly don't want to be, you know, oh, they were the trailblazer, and then look at everyone that caught up to them. So we're going to be busy for the next 1 to 2 years for sure.
Well, I know on behalf of kind of our entrepreneurial community here in Mid-Maine, and now of course as a Tech Night alum, you know, please let us know how we can help contribute to any of that kind of those beta groups, etc. So well, an exciting year, and great to see a business be particularly nimble during these times. So with that said, Paul, I'll pass it to you if you want to give us a jog around MaineNerve.
All right. Well, that's cool. All right. That's exciting. Here it is. Here's how the sausage is made. Well, first, could I ask if there are any questions now from our dedicated group of listeners? You've been loyal for 46 minutes here. Is this okay, Garvin, to ask a couple, if anyone wants to ask a couple questions?
Yep. If anybody would like to chime in, certainly.
All right. No pressure. Cindy? No, just kidding. Just kidding. All right. I'll share my screen. So this will disconnect here and should let me choose my screen. All right. And I'll move this little guy out of the way. So can everyone see okay?
Looking good.
All right. So this is our homepage, and it consists of all of the challenges that have been created. So a question is what we call a challenge. And, you know, what could be, it could be anything from trivial and funny and humorous to serious. And we've encouraged our community now to post questions that are, you know, not super complex, right? Until our user base grows and there's a more wider range of professions represented. So our community has done some funny caption contests. Here's a serious one. What could we learn from COVID? You can see on these little challenge cards the stats. So there's 9 players in this one, 12, there's 26 ideas. So as a new player, let's say we are the new players, right? So what we'd be interested in is oh, okay, so there's different categories of challenges. I may see, oh, what's this? Become an innovator and change the world. So that's our special word, innovator. It's from, with our co-founder being a psychiatrist and a neuroscientist, the idea that neurons innervate the tissues that as they grow. So an innovator is a problem explorer. So you may have an innovative idea, and as you explore that challenge to make sure that your idea is feasible and doable with the available resources, that is actually what we call innovating. So there's plenty of ways to discover other people, other platforms or topics. So these players here, I can see we call it an Olympiad. So each cycle of tournament and Olympiad is the same, but I can see that, here's our current prize money. Here's the players and the prior one. We can see the winners there, view the leaderboard. So the questions run from funny which is very fun to practice and test our system on some humor. And then here's one of mine. So let me click on my challenge. And here's my question. What could be new ways we grow our MaineNerve community so that we become Big Nerve? And I describe a little bit. I've got my, as we have said, the who, the what, the why. And here's where we could actually, if someone wanted to challenge my assumption, they could do that. And here's where I would enter my idea. And pretty simple, straightforward, deceptively simple. Go ahead, feed your idea to the sharks. No, we laugh. So describe your idea, title it, and then begin to rate the ideas. So I've already started rating these ideas and all that. So I signed it in an incognito window so you could see it as a fresh person. So I would go through the idea flow, and I wouldn't know whose idea it was, but I would rate them on certain criteria, give some mentoring comments, and then I could go on to the next. We have our leaderboard. So I'll just switch tabs. So here's our leaderboard showing our current round's players. So we have 24 players, and here's their different stats at being a mentor, catalyst, innovator, rater. I can dive in and see, Demetra's, she's got 25 challenges, and how many players in hers and the quantity of ideas. So just some nice stats to help everybody see their progress. And what's awesome is all of these people are from UMaine, even if they're from international students. A few might be, I think, from Colby. We have Thomas College players as well.
And these are all unique users, Paul?
Yes, yep. There's me. I've been participating just with a couple challenges, basically to spur everybody on. But yep, these are all different players. So I could go, like, let's say I check out Hannah. Oh, I need to sign in. Let me show you mine from my point of view. Oops. All right. So if I went to a particular user's platform, let's just grab like Cameron here. So this player, I can see this is his platform. So I can see specifically his challenges, and he's a history buff. He's got a good range of things. I want to improve the Civil War map. How could this political sign be improved? So it looks like he was running for office. So he asked a question on, how can you improve my sign for politics? So that's pretty cool. So I remember, it's already closed, but I remember there were a lot of great suggestions. He didn't have to hire a marketing firm to redo his logo. I remember some 10 ideas that were some great crowd feedback on his campaign signs. So there's some things that aren't quite ready yet, so they're just here as a little placeholder. But if I want to ask a question, so here's our topics. If I was a local business, I might, let's see, what could I ask here? I have a question involving marketing or QA or sales or strategy. So as I build my question, this is our question flow designer. I can add my assumptions and image. I can test an idea secretly. And this is what was pretty fun. We did that with a few startups earlier in the year, back in April and May. So let's say you're the marketing director and you've got a slogan or a potential logo. You can create a challenge and insert your idea to test in the crowd anonymously, so no one will know it's yours, and it will be inserted auto-magically as there's a sufficient number of other ideas in there. And so what you can get back is kind of this really honest feedback that maybe a survey or a focus group might not provide. It's certainly a lot more convenient than a focus group and a lot less expensive. So we like a lot of these sort of concepts of design engineering or design thinking. So how innovative? Blue sky, moonshot, or playful? So we kind of define, unexpected, outside the box, but actually feasible with available time and resources. The deep dives, as we call them your core assumptions, but we do have these who, what, and why. So we kind of ask you to do some work on your idea. Who's the core audience? Use these lenses: demographics, psychographics, and jobs to be done. So I might fill out some of the metadata about the who and the what. First impressions of the core cause, supporting arguments. So obviously more serious challenges would require more of these fields, but our goal is actually to eliminate questions as you explore your question and actually drill down through stakeholders, feasibility levels, right? You may actually find out that you were asking the wrong question and that you need to actually focus on a different part of the problem. So drill down until you have the actual key question. And you need to study stakeholders. And we have a tool to add stakeholders and rate their incentives for and against. So your question may actually identify that you need to first solve the problem of the most vociferous, anti-stakeholder, right? So anyway, this is not for captions and comedy and silly fun things right now, but this will eventually be a pretty powerful tool for design thinking and hence exploring problems. You can set some money and prizes. It could be, for now, we might just chalk it up to experience and a pizza, or put some money on it. And then I'll show you what it's like when, the crowd, how the money is split to the crowd based on their overall scores. And then we can preview. I didn't fill it in yet, but now I can publish and share it. And then now that goes and lives on my homepage. So if I go to my home, so I can check out my ideas, my questions, check out my feedback, look at the rating and mentoring I got, communicate with them. I can go to, so it's basically this loop, this game where you don't spend weeks on a project at this stage. You just enter as many of these challenges as you can. There's all kinds of fun ones, some of our completed challenges. We did several more serious questions for, like for us, for example, how could we improve our own product? So we got a lot of great questions, and I'll show you that. We haven't built our search yet. So, oh yeah, here's one. What could the University of Maine do to protect the community from student spread of COVID? So in this case, students had, this was their expressed opinion, which could be very valuable to administrators at a school. So any questions so far?
Paul, maybe for folks that either are not familiar with MaineNerve or now are just becoming familiar,
yes.
How do we quickly, or not quickly, but how do we become a gamer? What does that look like? And, where do we find you?
Yeah, awesome. Everyone is definitely welcome to play if you'd like to check it out. So if you visit MaineNerve.com, you will see just a note that's up there and inviting you to go to the Facebook page. But our top secret to anyone watching this video in the future is click the brain and you'll be brought in to our homepage.
Nice.
All right, and then you'll create an account. So it's pretty simple to create an account. And then from there, I would recommend you just enter some ideas, find a challenge that you think is funny, use these filters here. You could certainly find the ones with the most money to start, which are ours. You could choose to put in an idea. If you're a little bit, unsure of yourself, just rate the ideas. You don't have to put an idea in. So that's how you could start. Sign up and find a question that's interesting. If you feel confident, you could ask your own question. And if you actually represent a business that wants to try out this wind tunnel, testing your idea before you commit some serious money to it or launch that campaign, and you need crowd feedback, reach out to me. My email's on the site, pgurney@bignerve.com, and as well. And we'd be happy to work on a pilot with you if you'd like. We could match your funding. If you could put a certain number down, we'll match it, and then we'll see about the good ideas that you get back.
Just so spectacular, Paul, and thank you for that. Such a wonderful platform. It's so easy to navigate, and what a brilliant way to ideate, but also to be part of a think tank in a crowd-sourced way. I mean, for so many of our innovators and entrepreneurs, being part of broader projects that are bigger than us and being able to think these things out is so invaluable. So thank you to MaineNerve for those values and amongst others that you bring to the community. So maybe lastly, unless there isn't any community questions, I always like to ask kind of at the macro level, and I know you touched on some of this, just general advice you'd give for an aspiring or budding entrepreneur in Maine right now.
Well, yeah, that's a great question. It's apart from what I mentioned about, talking about your idea, the worst thing you can do is kind of keep it to yourself, right? You do need to build a team around it, even if it's hard to build a team, but you probably do, unless you had as they say, a silver spoon in your mouth when you were born. You need to enlist other people that believe in your vision and that have the talents that you need, the skills, the particular skills. And, currently it's a little bit hard if you don't know people in your region that could help you. It's very hard. And that's what our platform is trying to solve, that you could literally, let's say you have a topic on robotics or a certain, whatever field it is, and you've got a great idea. You could play the game for a while, see what people are very mentoring and have the right, you could see their tone of voice, and if you like their style, some may be more blunt and direct, and others may actually be more nurturing. But either way, they could all be very innovative. So pick the people that you like that match your style, and then invite them to talk and form a team. And then, so that, I guess I just come back to that. The part about access to capital is very challenging. I pitched to the Maine Angels and had two kind of interested parties years ago for my other product. And the two of them said, get another giant client and we'll be interested, because we don't know if that one giant client is a fluke. I'm like, So sure, I will go to every major customer I can, me and my two programmers, that idea. So I sympathize, and you need an advisor, you need a friendly mentor, and it's hard to get those if you're in a rural area. Maybe you luck out and you can go to Tech Night, you can go to a co-working space. So link up, right? Remote when we can, in person, but don't go it alone. Even Elon Musk, the great innovator of our time, major industry creating companies, he needs a team. And he had a team.
Well, Paul, thank you so much for kind of your practical insights, as well as the kind of product that you're developing within our Maine entrepreneurial community. We're so appreciative of that. So to that end, unless there aren't any questions, would like to say thank you to everybody. Again, thank you to our sponsors. This free event is presented by the Central Maine Growth Council, sponsored by CGI, Thomas College's Harold Alfond Institute for Business Innovation, Valley Beverage, and Bricks Co-working and Innovation Space. We do miss being with people in person. We are monitoring when we can come back face to face. I continue to get questions about where's the pizza. So we look forward to enjoying a beverage and a couple of slices here shortly. We will continue to be holding these tech nights the second Thursday of every month, albeit digitally for now. on this forum and during the day. So please let us know if you have any, likewise, any thoughts on speakers or ideas or products you would like to hear from that help you with your real world challenges, or you believe might help you with some sort of actionable insight for your own product or processes. And that's what Tech Night is all about, and probably something that Tech Night and MaineNerve share as well. So thank you all. Lovely being with you, and we'll see you next month. And thank you, Paul, and your team. Cheers.
Thank you very much, Garvin and Cindy and Isaac. Great. Appreciate it.
Have a good day.